Hello everyone, today is 15th of October. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Now guys, first of all let's have a look on today's GS folder. So today we'll take a quote from the Ban Ki-moon, the former United Nations Secretary General. Now guys, he had drawn the interlinkages between the impending problems of the world. He says, saving our planet, lifting people out of poverty, advancing economic growth, these are the one and the same fight. We must connect the dots between climate change, water scarcity, energy shortages, global health, food security, and women's empowerment. Solution to one must be the solution for all. So, guys, he had talked about seeing the developmental problems with a single lens, and therefore, integrative approaches needed to solve all these problems. Now, guys, we can utilize this particular quote in GS paper number 2. We can utilize it in GS paper number 3 as well as into the essay. So guys, that's it, and now let's have the today's newspaper analysis. Now guys, first of all let's have the overview of the entire newspaper first. Guys, yesterday the video was not posted because in my family there was some medical emergency, and because of that particular thing I was not able to post the video. Guys, please don't have any doubts with respect to this particular video session that is going on. It will be posted every day on all the possible cost. However, if there are some such unforeseen circumstances, then there could be some issue, and that particular thing also I will intimate on our Telegram group, as yesterday also I had that particular thing. But guys, again, sorry for that particular disruption. Now guys, the first news pertains to the with respect to the loan borrowing, and the center has announced the compound interest waiver scheme. Then guys, here we can see that the same sex couple marriages have been mentioned. So in this particular respect, article 377, and marriages of the LGBT community couples, we will be seeing it. Then guys, moving forward, now guys, here we can see that the ban on diesel generators have been installed because of the graded response action plan has been started. Now guys, this graded response action plan already we had seen on to the 1st of October, as the EPCA announced that particular thing. So if you don't know, you can watch this also. Then guys, moving forward into the regional section, the news with respect to the COVID etc has been mentioned, not really important. Now guys, we reach directly to our editorial section. Now this particular editorial talks about a letter which has been written by the governor of Maharashtra to the government, and it has been said that such letter is communal, as it is talking about the Hindutva tone. Guys, not at all important for our UPSC exam. Then guys, this article talks about the NGO vis-a-vis the education link. Guys, very important with respect to our GS paper number 2. Then guys, moving forward, this article talks about the tussle that is going on between the YSR Congress government and the judiciary. So guys, just that particular article is having political undertones and not needed for our UPSC exam. Then guys, this article talks about the manufacturing policy into the light of the PMP and the critical appraiser of the linked productivity incentive scheme. Guys, a very good article, some very valuable insights will be seen. Then guys, moving forward, this particular article talks about the recent issue with respect to the atrocities over the Dalit community. Guys, very generalistic. This article talks about very generalistic kind of arguments, and guys, already much of the labor related issues we have already seen. Then guys, moving forward, so as we move here guys, we can see that the World Bank had announced the STARS project, and now government has also given its approval to this particular thing. So entire STARS project will be seen. Then guys, the showcase page, not important for our exam. After that guys, as we reach here onto the world page, guys, here the US election has been mentioned, not needed. Then guys, here we can see that the China is celebrating the anniversary with respect to the SCZs which were announced 40 years ago. Now guys, in article nothing is mentioned, but with respect to the SCZ, Niti Aayog action plan contains a very good chapter on that particular thing. So guys, you please do refer to Niti Aayog action plan. Very good insights to all the subjects have been given, so you will find it onto the Niti Aayog's website. Then guys, moving forward, so here onto the business page, we can see that allow trading into the bonds. It has been said by the chief economic advisor. Here the public debt ratio has risen to 90%. After that guys, onto the sports page, IPL related news are there, not needed. So that's it, and now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail. Now, friends, taking up the first news. So, this particular news pertains to the same sex couple marriages. Now, this particular article we can utilize in GS paper number 2, issues of social justice, as well as GS paper number 1, society. Now, guys, what has happened here? Before that particular thing, I would like to give you some background. See, the same sex couple marriages, or basically the homosexuality in India, has been considered a offense under the IPC section number 377. According to it, homosexuality is a kind of an unnatural sex, therefore, it is not desirable. However, guys, into the mean course of time, this particular thing got acceptance, and via a series of judgments, now the homosexuality has been accepted. Now, guys, in this particular thing, some judgments have come. We'll see them. First of all, in 2009, Naz Foundation versus Government of NCT of Delhi judgment came, where the Delhi High Court said that the section 377 is archaic, it is colonial, therefore they decriminalized the section 377, and it was a very happy moment for the LGBT community. However, guys, after that particular thing, the Supreme Court in 2013, into the Suresh Kumar Kaushal versus Naz Foundation case, again criminalized the homosexuality. Basically, it again restored the section 377. The logic of Supreme Court was such that restoration of any law or decriminalizing any law is the task of a parliament, and parliament should work on that particular thing. So it was restored. Then, guys, what happened in 2016? Naz Foundation curative petition was held, but the status remained unchanged. But, guys, finally in 2017, a kind of moment came for the LGBT community when into the KS Puttaswamy case, the right to privacy was upheld. Guys, it was said that the private life of a person is a part of his own individual preferences, and their state government cannot intervene. It also said that the right to privacy is a fundamental right under Article number 21. Now, guys, as an implication of this 2017 judgment, in 2018, the Supreme Court held that as the privacy has been accepted as a fundamental right, and obviously any person's sexual preference is a part of his privacy, therefore, all the laws which are in the hindrance of this particular thing will be unconstitutional. Now, guys, just if I go a little bit technical, please pay attention here. You remember that there is article number 13. Article number 13 says that all the laws which are in contravention to the fundamental right which will be held unconstitutional. Now, guys, this particular section 377 is going contrary to article number 21, where the privacy has been accepted. So therefore, the section 377 was declared as unconstitutional, and the homosexuality was recognized. Now, guys, this particular thing happened, it is good, but what about the marriages of the people who happens to belong from the same sex? Now, guys, in India, the marriage laws are basically dealt by two major legislations, that is the Special Marriage Act 1954 and the Hindu Marriage Act 1956. Though there is a Foreigners Marriage Act also, but major are these two. Now, guys, into these legislations, nowhere actual word marriage has been defined. Marriage has been mentioned but not defined. In India, marriage is customary and not statutory. Customary means that what society since ancient ages has accepted marriage, that is the marriage. Nowhere the legal definition has been given. Now, guys, into this particular thing, now the people from the LGBT community, they are demanding that as our status has been declared as legal, we should also be given the permission to marry. According to them, the word special into the Special Marriage Act, this particular word means allows for the same sex marriages also. Now, guys, into this particular thing, if I tell you the actual stand of the center government, then center government said via the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta that our culture doesn't accept the same sex marriages. Moreover, guys, according to the center government, there are another problems also, that is, there are so many of the legislation which are providing the protection to the women, to the wife, against the sexual assault, physical assault, all those kind of things, and there specifically the word wife has been mentioned. Now, into the same sex marriages, actually determination that who is the husband and who is the wife will become very much problematic, and all those laws which are giving protection to the wife will be also be rendered ineffective into these particular kind of things, and large number of amendments have to be carried. So they said that at right now we can't provide the status of marriages to the same sex people. However, the high court had sent the Delhi High Court had sent the notice to the center onto the same thing. So guys, this is the thing till today. I hope you have understood, and please keep it in your mind with respect to the GS1 as well as GS2. So that's it. Now we'll move to the next article. Now guys, this particular article pertains to the recent issue of the loan moratorium, and it will be important for our GS paper number 3 as well as economy. Now guys, I will just tell you the background before going into this news. So what happened, we know that the lockdown started, and as the lockdown started, people's sources of employment got exhausted, and therefore guys, it was said that a moratorium is being imposed onto the installments that have to be paid by people to the banks. Guys, moratorium means a temporary relief. For a temporary period they don't need to pay their installments. Now guys, as the moratorium amount period got expired, people got to know that the money which they don't pay because of moratorium, over that new interest has been accrued. That is, the interest over the interest has been accrued, and now the people are feeling much burned about this particular thing. They say that we are already not having any employment, and now new interest also we have to pay. Now guys, for this particular thing, large number of pleas were made into the Supreme Court, and guys, the Supreme Court and central government in the series of negotiations, finally now center had said that 8 categories of small borrowers which have taken the money up to 2 crore rupees, to them we are giving a special permission that okay, they don't need to pay the interest over the interest. And for this, a compound interest waiver scheme has been released by the center government. Now guys, this particular thing is good. Finally the confrontation between the Supreme Court and the center got ended. And guys, the 8 categories which I have talked here, these are the MSMEs, education, housing, consumer durables, credit card, auto loan, personal loan, consumption loans. And now the issue which is coming is that guys, though the central government has allowed this particular thing, but the implementation of this compound interest waiver scheme will be from November 15th. Now the Supreme Court is saying to the central government that Deepavali is in your hands, that is before 15th of November you need to implement this particular thing, and it is questioning that why this November 15 deadline has been fixed. So for that particular thing, central government had said that the formalities have to be completed, moreover the interest on interest which has been accrued, that has to be calculated, and large number of things are there which are to be done behind the curtains. So guys, this is all this particular thing into this particular respect. Now the final decision is yet to be taken. So that's it. Now we'll move to the next article. Now guys, we are into the editorial section, and this particular editorial talks about the electronic manufacturing, and it is important for our GS paper number 3 under the topic of the manufacturing for the electronic components. Now guys, first of all, on to the 8th of October, I have taken an editorial from the Live Mint newspaper where I had discussed the PLI scheme which has been released by the government. So guys, first of all, if you have not seen this particular discussion, then guys, please do watch it. It is a very important thing which till now was not discussed for even once into the Hindu newspaper, but we have done it from here. Now guys, coming to this particular article, but for the sake of it, I will also give you a brief explanation that what does this PLI stands for. Guys, government said that all the industries which will manufacture the electronic component, to them a subsidy component will be given. It was said that a subsidy of 4% to 6% of incentive will be given to the industries so that their cost gets reduced. And guys, if their cost will get reduced, obviously their profit will increase, and by this particular virtue, more and more firms will be coming to the India. So this was the basic reasoning by which the PLI scheme was announced. Now guys, we had seen already that into the PLI the 16 manufacturers were selected. Out of these 16 there were the global manufacturers as well as the domestic manufacturers. Now it has been said into the article whether it will really be boosting our manufacturing. That particular question will be seeing here via critical analysis. Now guys, if we see the long term strategy of the government, then government in 2016 and 17 brought the PMP scheme, that is the phased manufacturing program. Under this program, government focused on two things. First of all, into the short term, they focused on building the low value accessory manufacturing base in India, and from here they would plan that they will transition to the high value component manufacturing. Now guys, along with this particular thing, at the same time the focus was also given to increase the import duty of over the imported electronic components so that our domestic manufacturers will get a boost. Now this particular thing was going on, and guys, we had seen that due to various governments incentive and all those things, actually the units such as the Oppo, Apple, etc. have invested into India, and the production has increased from $13 billion around this particular time to the present nearly $31 billion. But there is a problem, though we can see that the production is increasing in India, but guys, the value addition is very much less. Value addition means that suppose there was a raw material which I took for 10 rupees, and into this raw material I invested my energy, my technology, and a lot of innovation, and this product became worth rupees 500. So this difference, that is 490 rupees, is the value addition. Guys, in India value addition is not being done. Rather, what is happening in India, the manufacturers, they are importing the components, just assembling those components, and then they are either selling that product into the India, or that particular product is being exported. 85% of the products which are being manufactured in India, they are using the imported components. Now guys, in India, we, if we need to reap the benefits of manufacturing, we need that these components also needs to be manufactured. Now guys, if we talk about the countries such as the China, Vietnam, South Korea, these countries, not only they manufacture the components which are used, moreover guys, they are actually exporting more than what they are importing. But in India, opposite is happening. In India, we import 25 times more than what we are exporting into the electronic component. So if, for example, if we are exporting 1 rupees, we are importing 25 rupees of electronic component. So by this particular thing, we will never be a resilient economy or a resilient destination for the electronic components. Now guys, if I tell you some more data, now guys, it has been said that by the Taiwan is having a problem with our PMP scheme, that is the phased manufacturing program which we started to revive our manufacturing sector in electronic component. Taiwan is saying that here the government of India is giving subsidies, and because of this it is not compliant under the WTO. Now guys, it is said that if this particular clause is upheld, then guys, India will further be dependent on more importing, because whatever incentives now we are giving, those incentives will get exhausted, and then even less manufacturing which is being done, that will also not happen in India. Now already the conditions are so bad, and now we will see the critical appraisal of the PLI scheme. Now guys, it has been said that government had declared that incentive will be given to the manufacturers of the mobile phone as well as component, but the issue is this, that even after this particular thing, in India much benefit will not be coming. Here you can see that a study was conducted by the Ernst and Young, and according to them, they said that let's assume that if 100 rupees is the price of a mobile, then after giving all these incentives into the China, that particular mobile will be around 79.55. In Vietnam, it is 89, and in India, after the PLI, it will be 92.51. So still, making a component or a mobile in India is expensive even after the PLI. So guys, therefore the firms will not be relocating back to India, they will stay back in China only. After that guys, see, just here it has been said that we see the export of the electronic mobile phones in 2019-20. So $3.8 billion worth of mobile phones were exported. Now guys, if we see average price of the mobile phones which are being exported, it is $87 average price. It means that low cost or cheap mobile phones we export. Now it has been said that any manufacturer if it wants to get incentive under the PLI, then minimum 15,000 rupees worth of mobile phones will be eligible. It means $205. So guys, here you see that our export competitiveness is in the low cost mobile phones, and the PLI is focusing on to the high cost mobile phones, that is nearly 205, which is more than 3 times. So basically this particular issue will be having a problem here, and actually for the export competitiveness, PLI will not be having any benefit. After guys, there is one more issue which has been said, that it has been said that this particular thing is being done to boost our manufacturing, but in India already no domestic big manufacturers are there for the mobile phone. The companies such as Lava, etc., their presence is being reduced too much. Guys, here I can show you certain data. See here, the Lava in 2018 financial year just exported 324 crore rupees of mobile phones, whereas Optimus Electronics, which is a major exporter, it exported just 4 lakh rupees of mobile phone in financial year 2019. So here we can see that our Indian manufacturers are not there, and all this particular thing will be going to the foreign manufacturers only who had invested in India. Now then guys, the next issue is the co-location. It means that those suppliers who are actually supplying the major component to a big company, for example Samsung, those people also needed to be co-located into India. Now guys, in India Samsung has invested heavily. It has started one of the biggest manufacturing plants in India, but still its suppliers have not been co-located. It means that even into the long term, Samsung will be keep on importing its components from these people who are situated majorly into the South Korea. So co-location is also needed if we actually want to get any benefit out of the government schemes and incentives. So guys, it has been said that the scheme's intention was good, but still large number of fine tunings, etc., has to be done before India can actually achieve any benefit out of these things. So guys, a very good and a very deep article it is. Please keep all these things in your mind. So that's it. Now we'll move to the next article. Now guys, this particular article is talking about the role of NGOs into the education. Now friends, here much of the text has been directly picked up from the National Education Policy, RTI Act, etc. So guys, their wording is important, so from time to time we will be referring to the original article also. Now guys, before going into the article, let's see some basic background information. Now when we talk about the NGO, non-governmental organization, it is any organization which is first of all distinct from the government. Secondly, it works most often onto the notion of no profit. It is issue based. It means that for some specific section or from some specific topic, it is working, for example, for child, for old age people, for education, for rehabilitating of the women who were the victims of the sex racketing. Then guys, their main focus is onto the citizen welfare. Now guys, in India, if I tell you, then there is article number 19 subclause 1 subclause C, which talks about that the citizens have a right to form the association, and in that association citizens can also form the NGO. Moreover guys, under article number 43 part 4 DPSP, it has been said that the state government also needs to promote the NGOs. Moreover guys, when we talk about the legislation, many of the NGOs in India are not registered, but many a times if their registration is concerned, they are registered under the Societies Registration Act 1860. So guys, this is all about the NGO. NGOs are directly given in our GS paper number 2 under the NGO section. Guys, if I am telling you about NGO here, you should also know the FCRA issue of the NGO, which connects to the foreign funding. Already we have taken this particular thing because the FCRA bill 2020 was in news. However, guys, we'll not go into this particular thing because then we'll deviate from the present topic. So, into the present topic, the link between NGO and education has been made. Now, guys, it has been said that in India there are a substantial number of NGO, very large number of NGOs, and most of these NGOs are also involved into the education sector, where they can play a role of a catalyst. Catalyst is something which speeds up any kind of reaction or any kind of process without actually becoming the part of that process. So NGOs can speed up the education's reform in our country. Now, guys, it has been said that if we see the number of NGOs in India, then, guys, according to one of the report of the Economic and Political Weekly, it has been said that India is having around 1.2 million, that is 12 lakh NGOs. There is one more article which say that in India we have 31 lakh NGOs. So, guys, either 12 lakh or 31 lakh, it means large number of NGOs are there. And, guys, then, guys, if we see the particular NGOs working into the education sector, then it is estimated that minimum of a lakh people are involved into the NGO sector. Now, guys, these people are either involved into the direct teaching, or secondly, these people are involved into the workshops where they are actually enhancing the skills of the teachers. They are teaching the teachers how to teach. Now, guys, basically this teaching the teacher how to teach, it is called as the continuous professional development of teachers, CPDT. Now, the issue comes that these NGOs are involved into the CPDT, but do they themselves know that what is actually the quality, what on what front the pedagogy needs to be improved? Now, guys, in our country, the sad thing is that often we understand that the quality is just scoring a good marks, high marks into the board. We understand that to be the quality education, but simply this is not the quality education. Now, guys, here the reference has been given from certain key documents of the government where the quality education has been defined. So in this article there are four documents which has been defined. The first is the National Curriculum Framework 2005. Second is the Right to of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009. The third is the National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education 2009, and the fourth is the latest one, that is the NEP, National Education Policy 2020. So these four documents have been used here. Now, guys, first it has been said that let's take an example from the RTE, Right to Education. According to it, it says that a children should be infused with learning through activities, discovery, and exploration in a child friendly and child centered manner. Now, question comes that the NGOs or the people who are involved into the NGO, they themselves do know the meaning between the discovery and meanings between the invention. What is actually the environment in which child will be learning more, whether the discovery method it has any limitations or not. Moreover, guys, within the NCF, the constructivist methodology has been also mentioned. Now, what is this constructivist method of learning? These things need to be known by NGOs, but NGOs don't actually know them, so how they themselves will be able to implement it? Then, guys, into the same way, the reference from the NEP 2020 has also been given. It has been said that the NEP 2020 says that the skills, etc., are needed to be included into the child's learning. Now, the skills are the scientific temper, evidence based thinking, creativity, innovativeness. All these things have been talked here. But, guys, these words, what they mean, whether all the words and the phrases which have been utilized into the NEP, do they are consistent with each other? What is their literal meaning? What is the meaning which they intend to convey? All these things are needed to be understood by the NGO people, but the NGO people in India, they don't have the capacity to understand these complex kind of things. Moreover, these documents also talk about making the children the better citizens. For example, they need to be good, successful, innovative, adaptable, productive. Here it has been said. Now, this reference is from NEP. Then here it has been said that they need to be promotive of values of peace, a democratic way of life, etc. This is from the NCFTE document. Now the issue comes that whether they actually mean that the students only need to be successful or they also need to be concerned ethical citizens. These things are needed to be understood, and not only the literal meaning is needed to be understood. Now guys, therefore basically it has been said that the NGOs in India are the most important link into the education, but such complex documents which are often provided by the government, they are not simply understandable by the NGOs. Moreover guys, it has been said that now it is a need that the capacity of the NGO workers is needed to be built, so that in turn they can build the capacity of the children. But if for this particular thing government is not paying any attention. Moreover, it has also been said that neither the government is paying attention nor any university or a college in India is teaching that how NGO workers can be more effective. So that particular thing, courses are also not there. So this particular gap is needed to be understood right now, so that NGOs can continue to be the potential catalyst for change. So guys, this is the thing, and both the topics, that is the education as well as NGO, are mentioned in our examination. So please do utilize it if a question comes. So that's it. Now we'll move to the next article. Now, friends, this particular article is talking about the recently announced STARS program by the government. Now, guys, the cabinet has given approval to the STARS project. So, first of all, looking into the background information, guys, the STARS stand for the Strengthening Teacher Learning and Result for States. This particular project is sponsored by the World Bank, where World Bank strives to improve the school education into the countries. Now, guys, just one value addition point as we are talking about education. See, the Sustainable Developmental Goal number 4 talks about the promotion of the education. In Right to Education Act 2009, education has been mentioned. Then Article number 21A talks about the education. So, guys, there are enough of the textual matters where the education clearly has been talked that it has to be promoted at any cost. Now, guys, this STARS program by the World Bank into the present time will be implemented into the 6 states, that is the Himachal Pradesh, Kerala, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Odisha. Now guys, this particular plan will be promoting the school education, and now the cabinet has given its approval that okay, this particular program will be implemented. Now guys, by the World Bank, $500 million will be given, and additionally nearly 5700 crore rupees will also be pumped by the center. So this is a substantial funding for the educational reforms. Now guys, this is all about this particular thing, that okay, it is working for education, but if in between the line question comes that what are the actual components of the STARS program by the World Bank, then these are the actual components. First of all guys, it is working on enhancing the governance into the education in India at the school level. After that guys, learning outcomes also needed to be enhanced. Whenever we talk about learning outcome, you can quote the Pratham report. Now guys, basically the name Pratham is the name of an NGO, and it releases a report, that is the ASAR report, Annual Status of Education report. According to it, learning outcomes in India are very bad. Many a times it has been seen that the children of the class 5th, they are not even to read the text of the class first, as well as arithmetic problems also they can't solve. So learning outcomes it will be working on. Then guys, it is having a special component, that is the emergency response component. This is very important. Now emergency response component, it pertains to disasters. So when the disasters are there, the school education is disrupted. So even then, how the school education can be provided? And right now into the times of the COVID-19 pandemic, this disaster component becomes very important, because we had seen that so many children are not able to get the education simply because the education accessibility is not there. Some are not having internet, some are not having the devices, etc. After that guys, this particular scheme will also be implementing the Parak. Now what is Parak? Parak was announced under the New Education Policy 2020. It stands for Performance Assessment Review and Analysis of knowledge for holistic development. And this parak will be acting as a national assessment center which will evaluate the school boards. Now the different state government are running their different school boards, and every state government's evaluative measures, their methodologies are different. So guys, the parak will now be doing that particular thing so that a homogeneous standard throughout the country can be installed. After that guys, school to work transition strategy is also be focused. School to work means there are so many children who just go after the school, after the 10th class or the 12th class, into the vocations, and there they don't have any skill because simply they just have learned the theoretical concepts. So via the stars project, uh, the school to work transition strategy also will be worked upon. So guys, into this particular thing, the Ministry of Education has given its approval, the cabinet has approved it, and World Bank has also agreed. Now guys, earlier also the World Bank has provided nearly $3 billion under the stars project. Guys, one more additional information: Asian Developmental Bank is also running a similar kind of initiative for India, and there the Tamil Nadu, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, Gujarat, and Assam will be covered. However, guys, for stars, these six states are there. Please keep it in your mind. So that's it. Now we'll move to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article is pertaining to our GS paper number 3, where the chief economic advisor had just made certain series of advices. Now, guys, basically this article is little bit generalistic. However, we'll see the important ideas which has been given. First of all, guys, he had talked about allowing the trading in bonds from stressed businesses. Now, guys, in India, we have the corporate bond market where the securities of the private corporates can be traded. Now guys, when I using the securities means that the debt instruments, then there are the shares, all these kind of things can be traded. When we talking about the bond are guys the debt instrument. For example, if there is a Reliance corporate and Reliance corporate needs money for their expansion, they can issue the bonds. Now all the people who will buy these bonds, they had a kind of a debt they had given to the Reliance. Now guys, in India, the corporate bonds can be traded, but only for those companies which have a very high rating or whose financial health is very good. Now this particular thing is being done in order to safeguard the interest of the people who have invested their money. Now guys, coming to the article, it has been said that in India, we don't allow the stressed businesses to trade their corporate bonds. Now, guys, the stressed businesses, basically it is defined on two parameters. Parameter number one, those businesses who might go bankrupt into the near future, or those businesses whose ratings are not very good. Now, guys, there are various credit rating agencies which give the tag of the credit worthiness. So, if they are not good, they are also called as a stressed business. And the moment they got stressed, they are not allowed to trade here onto the corporate bond market. Now guys, it has been said that now into the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, there are large number of corporates who have turned into the stressed business category, and because of this particular thing, they will now not be allowed to go onto the corporate bond market, and by that particular thing, their workability will be much more impacted. So now it is a time that India should also allow the stressed businesses to trade onto the corporate bond market. Moreover, guys, it has been said that once the government, the company or the corporate is dying, there is a kind of a attempt which we can make, that is by giving it more money. But when you stop them to trade onto the corporate bond, that particular window is also closed. Moreover, guys, he had also said that in India, actually, the bankers have also been not able to play an important role in order to resolve the financial crisis of the corporates which are having the problem. Now it has been said, guys, that whenever a particular corporate is having any kind of problem, it might need more money to start or to keep relevant into their business. Now here, many a times what happens, the financial institution or the bankers, they don't take any risk with respect to the corporate because they think that it might be assumed that they have taken some bribe or some interest of them is there because they are giving them money. And sometimes even the kind of corporates which can't be revived, they are given the money. So guys, it has been said that the bankers are not able to take the decision into the utmost objectivity because their hands are tied under various kind of norms. Now guys, in 2015-16 economic survey also this particular thing has been said. So all these observations have been made here into this particular article. Guys, no need to go into the specificities of anything, just a generalistic prescription has been given. So that's it. Now we'll move to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article is just citing a particular estimate. Now, guys, it has been said that the IMF, International Monetary Fund, it is saying that now due to the COVID-19, the government's spending is increasing, and at the same time, money is not coming via the tax. So taxes are low, we are receiving less, and we are spending more. Because of this particular thing, the difference is huge, and this difference will be plugged by taking more and more debt. And now it has been said that this particular year public debt to our GDP ratio will increase to 90%. So it means that if our GDP is 100 rupees, then we are having the debt of 90 rupees. This particular estimate is very high. Guys, since 1991 our debt to GDP was stabilized around 70%, but now it will be reaching to nearly 90%. So guys, this is basically a kind of a disruption which has been caused. Now it has been said that however by 2025 again we will try to destabilize this particular thing by receiving more revenue and by curtailing unnecessary expenditure which has to be made. So guys, don't need to go too much deeper into this particular detail, only this observation has been made. So if any question comes onto the economic crisis that are plugging India right now, so you can provide this particular article and the data. So guys, that's all, and now we'll be moving to the question section. Now guys, just please pause the video and try to answer the question. Question number 1 is with respect to the ICDS. Please read the statement and identify the right option. Question number 2 is with respect to the RAISE 2020 summit. Please read the options and provide the right answer. Question number 3 is with respect to the SWAYAM. Please read the statement and identify the correctly matched option. Question number 4, it is with respect to the Hagia Sophia UNESCO World Heritage Site. Please identify that in which country it is located. So guys, that's all for today's newspaper discussion. I hope you have liked the video. Thank you so much.